It's alive, so if you're watching this later on, excuse any waiting around and so on. Just taking Q&A questions, and then I'm in my home, my new home garage gym here. The last place I was just renting. This is actually my wife and I's place, and I can demo. So I'm looking here for the questions that come in. It's my first time shooting it this way. Live Q&A if you have any questions. I'm trying to see, how do I, there we go. When are your Barefoot basketball shoes coming out? Unfortunately, I don't have a model of those, but should be going for sale in December. The idea was a basketball sneaker, but with a foot-shaped sole. Hello. So yes, December, we already have the shoes, and we made our first quality, or our first pair, much better quality, thank you. So I forgot to check. Obviously, you can hear the mic. I haven't set up a live with a mic. Didn't understand that question. Definitely going to be dunking ATG sneakers. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be called the Uncivilized Sneaker. Okay. Sets and reps and volume on ATG split squats and step-ups. I like to range in protocols, which is like when you're trying to bring up a weak area. I would like to hit step-ups and split squats 3 times a week. We'll look at a demo of this. And then for general training, once a week. Let's take a look at why. All right, so hopefully the mic is working. You can still hear me. Let's say we're talking about short term. You're starting very weak. You're rebuilding body weight. Remember that I started this exercise. I had to assist myself. So if you're starting out there and you can't even do body weight, well, neither could I. I think you can recover from that much more quickly and do it a few times a week on those step-ups and split squats. Now let's say you're loading. Here's 65s in each hand. This was my weight this week. Notice the intent. I care about how much I can control it down. So that, I think, once a week is great. So like on the app, my knee ability protocol would be doing those 3 times a week in order. Backward sled or backward walking, then your reverse step-ups. Sorry, that was kind of a strange motion there, new to the live game. Then your ATG split squats a few times a week to get going on them. But at advanced levels, in my current program, I do them once a week. I think a similar comparison would be maybe if you looked at a beginner push-up program, maybe you would do it a few times a week. But then if you look at the top powerlifters in the world, I'm not saying you couldn't do it more often, but maybe at the top levels, they're doing their heavy exercises. Maybe they're only benching once a week, squatting once a week, deadlifting once a week. And again, I'm not saying there's not a lot of outliers, but for me, this works great. I work my step-ups 1 day a week, and I work my split squats separately 1 day a week. I always keep up what Ben's doing on the site and the app, so you can literally see exactly what I'm doing. You guys are so kind. Thank you, Brandon, for that compliment. Okay, here's a good question. My 60-plus-year-old mother has a bad knee, swollen and with some liquid inside. Can she start basic moves from ATG or needs doctor and have it fixed first? Well, you know, I would always have to say legally consult your doctor and so on. However, I would also have to acknowledge we're in really early stages of this, and I get so many messages from doctors who refer their patients to this. So what the doctors are referring their patients to, let's take a look at for your mom. So this is from the words of doctors. So when we look at a lifetime, almost any of us, I think, have a lot of room in the tank just by putting in many miles backwards. Not necessarily miles all at once, but what's happening when you walk forward, you're going through the heel. You're essentially absorbing impact, taking a beating. That's why something like the tibialis raise is very effective for modern life is to strengthen against that beating. But the moment we go to take a step backward, we're now actively pushing through the toes, and our knee is over the toes. So backward walking is the lowest level of knees over toes, and that's the position that's been found there is pressure on the knee. So that actually illuminates how can we get more able to handle pressure. So think of layer 1 for your mother. She's 60, my mom is 68, and she can run very well, but that's from lots of work backwards. My mom bought a torque sled with internal resistance. She takes it outside a few days a week, and she works backward with that sled. So let's look at our step-up exercise here again, and we're going to see how this relates to your mother. Would your mother benefit from adding a bunch of weight and working that same motion? Notice this is the same motion as walking backward, but I'm also controlling down. Well, for me, that's an appropriate amount of weight to get even more protected. I'm not working through any pain, but what if I kept loading? That could get to a dangerous point. Whereas when you're dragging weight with a sled, only you are moving it. You're never receiving the impact of it. So it's fundamentally safer. You can get into a rhythm much easier. So you have less chance of breakdown, more circulation. And we're also losing that circulation. At age 60, the circulation to recover is way different than at age 30 or at age 15. But for everyone, the backward walking and backward sledding is the foundation. Then, so you have reverse sledding. The next layer is reverse step-ups, and that's just the direct knee stuff. You wouldn't want to just jack up your knee without equally building the ankle. So in the zero program, we rebuild those things from the ankle on each side and then get into the reverse step-up. And then let's look at this progression. Like here's what my mom can do that I know my mom is going to be fine compared to a regular person. She can get down into this position. If she can just maintain that the rest of her life, that's exceptional. But with heel elevated, with front foot elevated, I started this assisted myself. Let's see what that looks like. There. Here would be, this would be how you could get those qualities. You're stretching here, you're loading full range of motion, and the better you get at the step up, so the stronger we get in this position, the easier it gets then to get into this position. So this is why some people will say, oh, I just did backward sled, my knee pain went away, or I just did step-ups, my knee pain went away, or I just did the astergrass split squats, my knee pain went away. But the reality is that each of the three is its own tool. Each of the three can be used, and in that order, the reverse sled is the safest, the reverse step-up is then the second safest, and then you have the full range of motion split squat. They're also probably powerful in inverse order. So like if I could only keep doing one the rest of my life, definitely the full range of motion split squat because of all the benefits. Hi, Ben, can you show the step up from the front? Sure. All right. Not just from the side. So, some people like the foot straight on. Some people like turned out slightly. I like to turn out slightly. Now my intention is on controlling it down to that heel to the floor and going up. I wouldn't be using weight that I would have to shift back or to the side or here. It's not that these positions that I would feel unsafe in these positions, but essentially if I had to go here to get there, well, in sport, I want to be able to handle that knee over the toes and not have to go excessively inward. So hopefully that gives a little bit of visual on this step up. Here would be a front-facing view. Some people will even ask about like a hip shift. The thing is, I don't really care because over time, I'm not going past a 6-inch step. So you want to just try to gradually master that 6-inch step more and more and more. That's a very workable zone for life. What do I think of pistol squats? Well, let's look. Haven't tried one of these guys in a while. I've done videos on these before. So a pistol squat, full range of motion. If you look at most people's back on a pistol squat. Let's take a look. Maybe I can even get in here and see it. So I've got a pretty flat back on a pistol squat. If you think about a pistol squat, when you do it, it definitely can feel really tight in the front. So in terms of getting that full range of motion, like would I rather do a pistol squat than no other full bend exercise? Definitely. The reason I choose the ATG split squat is because I can be lengthening those hip flexors, still full range here, and I can keep good posture. A lot of people, even at high levels, you see pistol squats really rounded. So in this position, look at my knee. Which position? These are two totally different positions. But if you actually achieve a full range of motion split squat, this is a dang near identical position. So I'm getting opened up rather than stiffer here. And then by adding load, I can actually get good at pistol squats without doing pistol squats. So for me, the ATG split squat, I can scale to grandparents. I can scale it to lower levels, and I can progress it to higher levels. Also, when you start adding load on a pistol squat, it can almost make it easier to counterbalance, whereas a full range of motion and ass to grass split squat is going to just be like the same rep, like a exact image of a rep, no matter what level, and by being able to monitor the mobility and the strength. So, does the ATG split squat help heal and or strengthen meniscus? Meniscus tears can heal based on the depth of the tear. The deeper the tear, the harder it is to get blood supply all the way that far in. So a meniscus tear is not just a meniscus tear. So I'm asked every day, does this work for meniscus? Ethically, I can't tell you that. But ethically, I can tell you to find out. If you know you have a torn meniscus from your doctor, see if you have data there on how deep the tear is. And then based on that, you can find out, are you someone who's in a position to heal naturally, or are you someone who's in a position that surgery is indicated? And if you're in a position to heal naturally, well then let's look into what the meniscus is. It's a rubbery C-shaped shock absorber in the knee. And we know that for it to heal, it has to get blood supply. So all of a sudden, that reverse sled, if your doctor indicates, could become the most valuable exercise because you get so much circulation with so much less breakdown. A sled you recover within a few hours of doing it, whereas typical weight training where you have that breakdown of controlling down, which you don't have on the sled, that takes roughly, you're going to look up rough ranges of 48 hours or something, totally different than a few hours of the sled. So the sled can be a cheat code to getting the circulation, getting strengthening and healing, but I ethically cannot tell you based on your injury if you should or shouldn't have surgery to try to heal. But I can tell you that based on the facts about this, it would make sense to start with reverse sled and to be building up the tibialis in those ankle exercises. So that's exactly what we do in the Zero program. We just build back from the start. All right, so many good questions. This is always my least favorite part of this, is I wish I could just answer every question. So I apologize. I wish it saved them for me. I was looking last time to see if it saved them so I could answer them all. So I apologize about that. What should I start to train if I have knee pain as a soccer player? Well, we've already established in this reverse sled, reverse step up, ATG split squat, all scaling to your level. And now we get into further layers of ATG. I don't have, it arrives next week, my American-made Nordic bench. This is my American-made back extension. This would actually be the start. The idea is that this arrives pre-assembled to your house. So you can see, you could be, I mean, if I cared about my soccer team, I would bring these out and you can use this just about anywhere. Single-legged, now you can start, I should always go through it. Start 2 legs, assistance. This is one of the reasons I love this machine. I used this to progress my dad from a half rep assisted to then full reps on 2 legs. Now you can start going single leg. Now for a soccer player, single leg, this was actually part of my workouts this week. Holding that top position and then progressing from that into Nordics. And let's look at why that would become so important for a soccer player. Is when you kick the ball, if you look at it in slow motion, the opposite of that is the hamstring. The back extension helps gently build up the hamstring one side at a time and helps us stay balanced, building the glutes, the lower back. But that right there, the opposite of, so you got your quads, right? If you've been following me for a while, okay, reverse sled, reverse step up, split squat, you're gonna be able to build quads. What else do we do a lot of? Hip flexors. And they're flexible too from the ATG split squat. So hip flexor plus quad to kick butt, your body will essentially hold back how fast you can release by the strength on the opposite side. So how slow you can go down on a Nordic. And then I would start even adding weight to the way down Nordic. Maybe the potential for a soccer player is on single leg, just slowly lowering down. So I'm not even talking about the way up for a soccer player. I'm talking about eccentric, the way down, knee flexion. Think of this as bones. Bones here, bones here. When you kick, you're trying to launch the bones. You're trying to rip your knee apart. That's what you're doing. When you throw, you're trying to rip your shoulder off. What's the opposite of throwing is the ATG shoulder system. Powell raise, trap 3 raise, external rotation. It's just the opposite of throwing. Those are the areas that then are going to keep that shoulder in place. That's why you can't just achieve the highest bench press and go out and throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. If you could, you'd go clean up extra millions. It's not that simple. So you have the weight. So you need those hip flexors, quads, boom, to be able to kick. And then you need that eccentric Nordic strength on the backside. And we want to do that in balance. We want the hamstring also to be able to stretch. We want lower back hamstring. So that would almost be, if we always consider that we're training the ankle, you could almost use that as a soccer system right there. Reverse sled, reverse step up, ATG split squat, and then also be building up your single leg back extension, your eccentric Nordic, and your hip flexor strength. So, we got some weirdo questions too. For Nordic, in normal guy, get a weight belt and put it over your leg. Yeah. So if you are in a gym that has powerlifting belts, those usually fit around a bench. If you find a cushion bench and you got yourself a Nordic bench. At Super Training Gym at Mark Bell's place, I did a video on that where we showed how to do that with Nordics. I actually started promoting that a couple of years ago. If you know me, I work on so many different things, so sorry I didn't make that even more common. But yeah, you can take a weightlifting belt. There's all kinds of ways to mimic Nordic. What ATG program should I use for shoulder pain? Shoulder ability protocol. So I have programs and I have protocols. So that is the shoulder ability protocol, is the external rotator. I have videos of these on my YouTube channel with perfect form, specifically controlling down 4 seconds each rep, and incline Powell raises. That one we can actually take a look at. I realized we can take a look at all these. What am I talking about here? All right. Where are we at? Can't do 65, that's for sure. Let's go down to 20. All right. So let's take the opposite of shoulder pain here. 4 seconds down, external rotation. And this is not hitting the same area. The one I just showed you hit the external rotators. This one's hitting muscles between your shoulder blades. 4 seconds down. And then, got to make another one here. And now this one is going to get into your third row of trap muscles, just above your lower back. Hopefully that wasn't too gnarly in the camera. So there, I just gave away, that is the shoulder ability protocol. It's 3 times a week, 3 sets of 8 reps on each, 4 seconds down. And you can really transform all those opposing shoulder muscles, which almost all of us are too weak in. It's just natural if we go in and start weight training and we're not training certain areas. So that's something really cool you can do rather than just rest, ice, painkillers. You can work the opposites of shoulder pain, and now you have a ratio in your favor relative to what all these muscles can produce than what all the opposing factors can produce. So I think we all have a ton of potential on those. I'm not even balanced yet, according to structural balance, the concept from Charles Poliquin. Oh man, it looks like we got some spammers on there. Going live. What a journey. So, a rough math is like 10% of what you can close grip bench with 4 seconds down. So I can do about 250, 4 seconds down. Like it just makes it so you're not trying to get a strategic bench angle. Just when your arm, like put your arms literally just straight, 4 seconds down. So I'm only working at like 20 pounds is really tough on this. I'm supposed to be doing 25, but I'm telling you, most people will start at like 8 pounds or so. And one might be higher, one might be lower. So to me, this is freaking awesome that we have 3 different shoulder exercises to hit different parts. The external rotators deep in there behind the shoulder, the scapular retractors in between the shoulder blades, and then the trap 3 in that 3rd row of traps there. So we have 3 awesome exercises that, quite frankly, probably every single person on this is weak. No offense, but just there's almost no chance that anyone watching this has done as many sets of those as they've done of bench press or push-up. So we alter from the intended design of the body. So I've found that I actually haven't seen anything to the contrary, and I'm not talking about the little outliers, but the broad issues, the knee pains, the back pains, the knee, back, shoulder surgeries, all these like broader issues that there's actually just real measurable deviations from how the body would start out. So it's really cool that we have exact solutions and they're measurable. So there was my shoulder ability protocol. On the side I have foot, knee, hip, back, shoulder protocols. Do you have a launch date for back extension? So back extension, as you can see, because it's built here, American made, arrives pre-assembled, folds out. But sometimes American made stuff takes a long time to get to you. So there's some extra tooling that I can pay for, which I just did, that will allow me to pump these out a lot faster for you. So I didn't want to release it. It was actually ready for release, but with like a 12-week lead time, which is the norm. But I want it where like you order and like it's getting shipped out to you that week. So when I got into manufacturing, I knew nothing. Really, 3-4 months ago, I still knew nothing until I really took over the whole operation myself. And first thing I found was like, whoa, I don't want to make stuff overseas. I want to make it in America. Now I'm finding, whoa, in America, it can take a while. But I'm in a position because of you all that I have this job of my programs. So I can afford, I don't have to rush. I can have the best quality products and I can have them get to you faster. I can solve these problems thanks to your support and not have to rush it. So I said 20 minutes. The title's 20 minutes. We're at 22 minutes. Again, my least favorite part is the amount of great questions that I've missed. I hate this, but I'm going live every week, so don't worry. You guys rock. This really sucks for me right now as I'm seeing all these amazing, can't wait for ATG shorts restock. I don't have a restock because those are not made in America, but there's a company I'm testing out called Runyon USA, and that is actually made in America. And if you see these stretchy shorts I've been wearing, look at, oh, the one part you weren't supposed to see. All right, if we look at like the stretchiness of these pants, these are fully made in America. It is very hard to get pants and shorts and stuff that are made in America, let alone long pants that stretch like that. That's like my biggest problem with pants. I can't work out with pants even if I want to because you get into the movement and you're like, oh, this feels bad. I got to go back inside. So that is Origin, this company. These are American-made joggers. And I don't mind telling you because I just stocked up last night, so I don't have to reorder. Use Patrick101, I think is a code. Bring them jobs back, my man. That's exactly right. That's what I'm talking about. So I'll give you one more. I'm seeing different questions on exercises for conditions that have to do with swelling inside the knee. So obviously, as little kids, we don't have like these kind of issues. And then as we get older, we can get these annoying swellings and stuff. So let's look at something really, really specific. And I'm actually going to use an exercise because I often ask people who have certain things, and then they send in these success stories that they went away. I'm kind of like, which aspect do you really think did it the most? So what do I think you should do? I think you should do the whole thing. But it also helps to know which ones apply the most. So let's look at that when it comes to swellings inside the knee. So we'd want to get warmed up with the backward walking or backward sled, really gently. So 10-minute timer if you start walking backward. If you have a sled, start real slow and then gradually increase intensity. Then get really to your level. Assist yourself and go slow. The way down is what causes the damage on exercises. So I mean really patiently build up that ability right there. Here's why. Here's what's happening. When you're loading in that position, you're not just loading muscles. You're actually loading tendons. And there's actually been multiple studies using some kind of slant board. That's why I made these, to make it cheaper, accessible. And you could notice putting slant boards on top of stuff for single leg exercises, really freaky. But nonetheless, 2 different studies that looked at doing that reverse type of step up with a slant board, and they showed that your tendon there can actually grow and strengthen more than avoiding that position. But by the very nature of that, sled becomes our friend to warm up. Now to get it grow, we need the eccentric loading. We need the way down loading. But because you have a pre-existing issue and swelling in the knee, you have to be extra patient. You can't do this. This is like number one thing I see is, oh, I'm doing 100 pounds, but not able to actually handle that. If you just start here and you drop, you didn't tell the tendon to get stronger. So the way down becomes really important. And what if you're working through pain? You might be causing more breakdown than you're going to be able to recover from. So you really got to go to like a 0 of pain. You have to get in a rack or somewhere that you can assist yourself and get that position. So we're told, what are we told is the number one thing? No knees over toes. When in fact, the number one thing is knees over toes. So thank all of you for listening. Again, I wish I could answer every single question. You have so many different good questions. I'll be back in touch next week. I'll be back in touch every week with live breakdowns of this. So thank you. You're jealous I can dunk. You could get there. Even now when I dunk, it's like a dream. I'm just like, I think my life is just amazing that I can dunk. I promise. Can I still dunk? I can dunk easier than ever. I'll be back on the court in November. I split my year, Florida and LA. My wife likes LA. I hate it and I love it. I don't know how to explain that. But I just live at home. I'm just a freaking dad. I have 0 friends in LA and just work on home gym stuff, like how to innovate shit to help people from home. Then I go live with my friends in Florida and I get to hoop on the weekend and I'm like a happy man again. Right now I'm just fighting having no friends and working out on my own. But honestly, the lives freaking boost me because it's not easy just working online, having no friends in person, not being able to play the sport I like, not being able to go dunk on the weekend. But it forces me to do other things. For those of you who've been following me, you know I've worked on all kinds of stuff when I'm in this grind mode that I never would have worked on from the gym. I had a gym, and that was part of the original reason. We left the gym during COVID and didn't buy any equipment, and I lived for like 6 months with literally 0. That's what made the 0 program. So it's part of my lifestyle that I forced myself away from the gym where I have everything to figure stuff out. So love you guys. Honestly, I could hang out and talk forever. This is as close I get to having friends. So much love. See ya.